Okay. Today is 16th of August, and we come to Majjhima Nikaya Sutta 69, Gulissani Sutta, about Gulissani. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Vacchagotta in the bamboo grove, the squirrel sanctuary. On that occasion, a monk named Gulissani, a forest dweller of lax behavior, had come on a visit to stay in the midst of the Sangha for some business or other. The Venerable Sariputta addressed the monks with reference to the monk Gulissani thus: "Friends, when a forest-dwelling monk comes to the Sangha and is living in the Sangha, he should be respectful and deferential towards his companions in the holy life. If he is disrespectful and undeferential towards his companions in the holy life, there will be those who would say of him, 'What has this venerable forest dweller gained by his dwelling alone in the forest, doing as he likes, since he is disrespectful and undeferential towards his companions in the holy life?' Since there would be those who would say this of him, a forest-dwelling monk who has come to the Sangha and is living in the Sangha should be respectful and deferential towards his companions in the holy life." Stop here for a moment. So here we have a monk who stays in the forest, and then he had come to this monastery to stay with the other monks, but he didn't know how to behave. So Venerable Sariputta, being the most considered the most senior monk after the Buddha, he criticized this monk, but not directly. He's saying that forest monk should be respectful and deferential towards his fellow monks. Otherwise, what's the use of his staying in the forest? He does as he likes, he's disrespectful and all that. Then what follows is a list of good behavior expected of a monk. So all this, the following, everything in this sutta is very good advice for a monk on how to behave. And he continued, "When a forest-dwelling monk comes to the Sangha and is living in the Sangha, he should be skilled in good behavior regarding seats thus: 'I shall sit down in such a way that I do not encroach upon elder monks and do not deny new monks a seat.' If he is not skilled in good behavior regarding seats, there would be those who would say of him, 'What has this venerable forest dweller gained by his dwelling alone in the forest, doing as he likes, since he does not even know what pertains to good behavior?' Since there would be those who would say this of him, a forest-dwelling monk who has come to the Sangha and is living in the Sangha should be skilled in good behavior regarding seats. When a forest-dwelling monk comes to the Sangha and is living in the Sangha, he should not enter the village too early or return late in the day. If he enters the village too early and returns late in the day, there will be those who would say of him, 'What has this venerable forest dweller gained by his dwelling alone in the forest, doing as he likes, since he enters the village too early and returns late in the day?' Since there would be those who would say this of him, a forest-dwelling monk who has come to the Sangha and is living in the Sangha should not enter the village too early or return late in the day. When a forest-dwelling monk comes to the Sangha and is living in the Sangha, he should not go before the meal or after the meal to visit families. If he goes before the meal or after the meal to visit families, there will be those who would say of him, 'Surely this venerable forest dweller, while dwelling alone in the forest, doing as he likes, must be used to making untimely visits, since he behaves thus when he has come to the Sangha.' Since there will be those who would say this of him, a forest-dwelling monk who has come to the Sangha and is living in the Sangha should not go before the meal or after the meal to visit families." Stop here for a moment. So this must be the list of all these faults of this forest-dwelling monk. A forest-dwelling monk, he stays alone and he practices meditation. But in the Buddha's Vinaya, a monk is supposed to stay with other monks and learn from Acharya. Acharya is a teacher for 5 years before he can go out and live alone. So apparently this monk, since his behavior is not up to standard, probably he did not stay with other monks, or he did not bother to learn from his teacher. So he was not respectful towards other monks. And then he doesn't know where he should sit. He sits where elder monks, more senior monks are supposed to sit, and then he denies new monks their seats and all that. And then thirdly, he enters the village too early and returns late in the day. When a monk enters the village, it means generally it's for alms, for alms round. So a monk should only enter the village after dawn, after the sun has come up. So in Malaysia, it's about 7 a.m. And because if he enters before dawn, then it's too dark. And 1 or 2 nights ago, we heard about this monk who was standing beside that woman. And when he didn't know he was standing beside her until the lightning flashed, and suddenly she saw him and screamed. So a monk should not go before dawn and return late in the day. He should not come back afternoon, Pinapata time, alms round time, is from dawn until noon, when the sun is at the highest. In Malaysia, it will be 1 p.m. So he should only go on Pinapata between 7 a.m. and 1 p.m. And come back during that time. Nowadays, you have fake monks and rotten monks who go to beg for money even at night. So if lay people know the Vinaya a bit, then they would not give him money. And then then the fourth one, he should not go before the meal or after the meal to visit families. Monks are supposed to have renounced and not to associate with lay people, and he should not go and visit families either before the meal or after the meal, unless there's a good reason. They need him for advice or something. He should not, as he likes, go to his own family or go to other people's family and associate too much with families. When a forest-dwelling monk comes to the Sangha and is living in the Sangha, he should not be haughty and personally vain. If he is haughty and personally vain, there will be those who would say of him, "Surely this venerable forest dweller, while dwelling alone in the forest, doing as he likes, must generally be haughty and personally vain, since he behaves thus when he comes to the Sangha." Since there will be those who would say this of him, a forest-dwelling monk who has come to the Sangha and is living in the Sangha should not be haughty and personally vain. When a forest-dwelling monk comes to the Sangha and is living in the Sangha, he should not be rough-tongued and loose-spoken. If he is rough-tongued and loose-spoken, there will be those who would say of him, "What has this venerable forest-dweller gained by his dwelling alone in the forest, doing as he likes, since he is rough-tongued and loose-spoken?" Since there would be those who would say this of him, a forest-dwelling monk who has come to the Sangha and is living in the Sangha should not be rough-tongued and loose-spoken. Stop here for a moment. So here, a monk should not be arrogant, haughty, and vain, think very greatly of himself. Maybe this monk, he's been staying in the forest, he thinks he's a forest monk, and other people are not. And also a monk should not be rough-tongued and loose-spoken, talk too much and talk in a rough manner. The Buddha says good speech should be gently spoken and beneficial. When a forest-dwelling monk comes to the Sangha and is living in the Sangha, he should be easy to correct and should associate with good friends. If he is difficult to correct and associates with bad friends, there will be those who would say of him, "What has this venerable forest dweller gained by his dwelling alone in the forest, doing as he likes, since he is difficult to correct and associates with bad friends?" Since there would be those who would say this of him, "A forest-dwelling monk who has come to the Sangha and is living in the Sangha should be easy to correct and should associate with good friends." Stop here for a moment. So here, a monk, if he wants to practice the holy path well, he should associate with those who practice very diligent in their practice. He should not associate with those who don't want to practice. There will be some monks who are not interested to practice and they talk a lot. And if a monk dwells with them, he is influenced by them and his behavior also becomes like them. So if a monk wants to practice well, he should associate with other monks who practice well, and then they will inspire him to practice better, and also they will not waste their time talking and joking and all that. A forest-dwelling monk should guard the doors of his sense faculties. If he does not guard the doors of his sense faculties, there would be those who would say of him, "What has this venerable forest dweller gained by his dwelling alone in the forest, doing as he likes, since he does not guard the doors of his sense faculties?" Since there would be those who would say this of him, "A forest-dwelling monk should guard the doors of his sense faculties." A forest-dwelling monk should be moderate in eating. If he is not moderate in eating, there will be those who would say this of him, "What has this venerable forest dweller gained by his dwelling alone in the forest, doing as he likes, since he is not moderate in eating?" Since there will be those who would say this of him, "A forest-dwelling monk should be moderate in eating." A forest-dwelling monk should be devoted to wakefulness. If he is not devoted to wakefulness, there will be those who would say of him, "What has this venerable forest dweller gained by his dwelling alone in the forest, doing as he likes, since he is not devoted to wakefulness?" Since there will be those who say this of him, "A forest-dwelling monk should be devoted to wakefulness." I'll stop here for a moment. These last three is part of the charana, conduct or practice of a monk in the holy path, guarding the doors of the six sense faculties, not to pay too much attention to sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch and thoughts, and then eating moderately, just enough, and then devoted to wakefulness, not to sleep so much, to try to reduce sleep as much as he can. A forest-dwelling monk should be energetic. If he is not energetic, there will be those who would say of him, "What has this venerable forest dweller gained by his dwelling alone in the forest, doing as he likes, since he is lazy?" Since there would be those who would say this of him, a forest-dwelling monk should be energetic. A forest-dwelling monk should be established in mindfulness. If he is unmindful, there will be those who would say of him, "What has this venerable forest dweller gained by his dwelling alone in the forest, doing as he likes, since he is unmindful?" Since there will be those who would say this of him, a forest-dwelling monk should be established in mindfulness. A forest-dwelling monk should be concentrated. If he is not concentrated, there will be those who would say of him, "What has this venerable forest dweller gained by his dwelling alone in the forest, doing as he likes, since he is not concentrated?" Since there will be those who would say this of him, a forest-dwelling monk should be concentrated. A forest-dwelling monk should be wise. If he is not wise, there will be those who would say of him, "What has this venerable forest dweller gained by his dwelling alone in the forest, doing as he likes, since he is not wise?" Since there will be those who would say this of him, a forest-dwelling monk should be wise. Stop here for a moment. So here, a monk should be energetic, not lazy. And then if he is energetic, he will be mindful and concentrated, and as a result of that, be wise. A forest-dwelling monk should apply himself to the higher Dhamma and the higher Vinaya. If he does not apply himself to the higher Dhamma and to the higher Vinaya, there will be those who say of him, "What has this venerable forest dweller gained by his dwelling alone in the forest, doing as he likes, since he does not apply himself to the higher Dhamma and the higher Vinaya?" Since there will be those who say this of him, a forest-dwelling monk should apply himself to the higher Dhamma and to the higher Vinaya. Stop here for a moment. This higher Dhamma is Abhidhamma, and higher Vinaya is Abhivinaya. You must remember when these suttas were spoken, at that time there was no Abhidhamma as we know nowadays. We don't have the Abhidhamma Pitaka. The Abhidhamma Pitaka was compiled later, and the Abhidhamma Pitaka, the meaning of the Abhidhamma Pitaka, the Abhidhamma there means analysis of the Dhamma. And here is different. Here this Abhidhamma refers to higher Dhamma. And this higher Dhamma refers to the higher teachings of the Buddha. Generally, the higher teachings of the core teachings of the Buddha, the most important teachings of the Buddha says in certain suttas, are the what is called the 37 Bodhipakya Dhammas. The Noble Eightfold Path can also be described in terms of the 37 Bodhipakya Dhammas. We will come to that later. Requisites of enlightenment, 37 requisites of enlightenment. This is most likely what this higher Dhamma refers to. Nothing to do with the Abhidhamma Pitaka, because that was compiled several hundred years later. And then the higher Vinaya, the Abhivinaya, there's no such thing as the books of Abhivinaya. Just like just now, the higher Dhamma means the more important Dhamma. So the Abhivinaya refers to the more important parts of the Vinaya. So a monk should be familiar with the higher teachings in the Dhamma and in the Vinaya and apply them. A forest-dwelling monk should apply himself to those liberations that are peaceful and immaterial, transcending forms. For there are those who ask a forest-dwelling monk questions on the liberations that are peaceful and immaterial, transcending forms. If he does not apply himself to those liberations, there will be those who would say of him, "What has this venerable forest dweller gained by his dwelling alone in the forest, doing as he likes, since he does not apply himself to those liberations that are peaceful and immaterial, transcending forms?" Since there will be those who would say this of him, a forest-dwelling monk should apply himself to those liberations that are peaceful and immaterial, transcending forms. This most likely refers to the arupas, immaterial jhanas. A forest-dwelling monk should apply himself to superhuman states, or superhuman or supernormal states. For there are those who ask a forest-dwelling monk questions on the superhuman states. If he does not apply himself to those states, there will be those who would say of him, "What has this venerable forest dweller gained by his dwelling alone in the forest, doing as he likes, since he does not apply himself to superhuman states?" Since there will be those who would say this of him, a forest-dwelling monk should apply himself to superhuman states. When this was said, the Venerable Mahamoggallana asked the Venerable Sariputta, "Friend Sariputta, should these things be undertaken and practiced only by a forest-dwelling monk, or by a town-dwelling monk as well?" And he replied, "Friend Moggallana, these things should be undertaken and practiced not only by a forest-dwelling monk, but by a town-dwelling monk as well." That's the end of the sutta. So the last two is the higher jhanas and the psychic powers. The 6 abhinya, including destruction of the asavas, liberation. So the Venerable Sariputta's standard is very high, because during the Buddha's time, there were many arahants. And so because there were many arahants, it was not considered beyond a monk's reach at that time, unlike nowadays. So this sutta is quite important for a monk who wants to practice well. Okay, now we go to Sutta 70, Kitagiri Sutta. This is another important sutta. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was wandering in the Kasi country together with a large sangha of monks. There he addressed the monks thus: Monks, I abstain from eating at night. By so doing, I am free from illness and affliction, and I enjoy health, strength, and a comfortable abiding. Come, monks, abstain from eating at night. By so doing, you too will be free from illness and affliction, and you will enjoy health, strength, and a comfortable abiding. Yes, Venerable Sir, they replied. You see, most of the Buddha's disciples are very obedient. Whenever the Buddha instructs them, whatever, they will comply. Then as the Blessed One was wandering by stages in the Kasi country, he eventually arrived at a Kasi town called Kitagiri. There he stayed. There he lived in this Kasi town, Kitagiri. Now on that occasion, the monks named Asaji and Punabasuka were residing at Kitagiri. Then a number of monks went and told them, Friends, the Blessed One and the Sangha of monks now abstain from eating at night. By so doing, they are free from illness and affliction, and they enjoy health, strength, and a comfortable abiding. Come, friends, abstain from eating at night. By so doing, you too will be free from illness and affliction, and you will enjoy health, strength, and a comfortable abiding. When this was said, the monks Asaji and Punabasuka told those monks, Friends, we eat in the evening, in the morning, and in the day outside the proper time. By so doing, we are free from illness and affliction, and we enjoy health, strength, and a comfortable abiding. Why should we abandon a benefit visible here and now to pursue a benefit to be achieved at a future time? We shall eat in the evening, in the morning, and in the day outside the proper time. Sorry for a moment. These two monks, Asaji and Punabasuka, what can be considered as rotten monks. In the Vinaya books, they are found to fairly often breaking the rules. So here, when they were told to stop eating at night, they refused to do so. They said, we are eating in the morning, in the afternoon, and at night, and we are finding it very good. So there's a problem when sometimes a person follows a teacher. If he has respect and trust in the teacher, faith in the teacher, then he doesn't listen to his own mind. A lot of us, we have a lawyer bureau up here in our mind, always thinking up some excuses not to follow the rules, and trying to what do you call it? Devil's advocate, is it? Or trying to make a case, trying to find some excuse. So if a person has a good teacher, he should just follow whatever the teacher says. So you find even the Buddha, the most perfect teacher in the world, he still has disciples who won't listen to him, like here. Since the monks were unable to convince the monks Asaji and Punabasuka, they went to the Blessed One. After paying homage to him, they sat down at one side and told him all that had occurred, adding, Venerable Sir, we were unable to convince the monks Asaji and Punabasuka. We have reported this matter to the Blessed One. Then the Blessed One addressed a certain monk thus, Come, monk, tell the monks Asaji and Punabasuka in my name that the teacher calls them. Yes, Venerable Sir, he replied. And he went to the monks Asaji and Punabasuka and told them, The teacher calls you, friends. Yes, friend, they replied. And they went to the Blessed One, and after paying homage to him, sat down at one side. The Blessed One then said, Monks, is it true that when a number of monks went and told you, Friends, the Blessed One and the Sangha now abstain from eating at night, etc. Come, friends, abstain from eating at night. You told those monks, Friends, we eat in the evening, we eat in the morning and in the afternoon. Why should we abandon a benefit visible here and now to pursue a benefit to be achieved at a future time? We shall eat in the evening, in the morning, and in the day outside the proper time. Yes, Venerable Sir, they replied. Monks, have you known me to teach the Dhamma in such a way as this? Whatever this person experiences, whether pleasant or painful, or neither painful nor pleasant, unwholesome states diminish in him. and wholesome states increase. No, Venerable Sir. Monks, have you not known me to teach the Dhamma in such a way as this? Here, when someone feels a certain kind of pleasant feeling, unwholesome states increase in him and wholesome states diminish. But when someone feels another kind of pleasant feeling, unwholesome states diminish in him and wholesome states increase. Here, when someone feels a certain kind of painful feeling, unwholesome states increase in him and wholesome states diminish. But when someone feels another kind of painful feeling, unwholesome states diminish in him and wholesome states increase. Here, someone feels a certain kind of neither painful nor pleasant feeling. Unwholesome states increase in him and wholesome states diminish. But when someone feels another kind of neither painful nor pleasant feeling, unwholesome states diminish in him and wholesome states increase. Yes, Venerable Sir. So here the Buddha is saying there are certain types of pleasant feeling which makes unwholesome states increase. On the other hand, there are certain types of pleasant feeling that makes wholesome states increase. And similarly for painful and neither painful nor pleasant feeling. After this, the Buddha will explain. Good monks, and if it were unknown by me, unseen, unfound, unrealized, uncontacted by wisdom thus, here when someone feels a certain kind of pleasant feeling, unwholesome states increase in him and wholesome states diminish. Would it be fitting for me, not knowing that, to say, abandon such a kind of pleasant feeling? No, Venerable Sir. But because it is known by me, seen, found, realized, contacted by wisdom thus, here when someone feels a certain kind of pleasant feeling, unwholesome states increase in him and wholesome states diminish, that I therefore say, abandon such a kind of pleasant feeling. If it were not unknown by me, unseen, unfound, unrealized, if it were unknown by me, unseen, unfound, unrealized, uncontacted by wisdom thus, here when someone feels another kind of pleasant feeling, unwholesome states diminish in him and wholesome states increase. Would it be fitting for me, not knowing that, to say, enter upon and abide in such a kind of pleasant feeling? No, Venerable Sir. But because it is known by me, seen, found, realized, contacted by wisdom thus, here when someone feels another kind of pleasant feeling, unwholesome states diminish in him and wholesome states increase, that I therefore say, enter upon and abide in such a kind of pleasant feeling. Let's stop here for a moment. Here the Buddha is talking about two types of pleasant feelings. One type, if we indulge in this pleasant feeling, unwholesome states increase and wholesome states diminish. This refers to worldly pleasure, sensual pleasures through the five senses, the sight, sound, smell, taste and touch. And because this one, when you enjoy this type of sensual pleasures, unwholesome states increase. Therefore, the Buddha says, abandon this unpleasant feeling. But there's another type of pleasant feeling. If you indulge in it, unwholesome states diminish and wholesome states increase. This refers to the jhanic bliss. When a person attains unification of mind, one-pointedness of mind, it is very blissful. This is a different type of pleasant feeling. This one, the Buddha says, enter upon and abide in such a type of pleasant feeling because it is beneficial. Similarly, if you were unknown by me, unseen, unfound, etc., here someone feels a certain kind of painful feeling, unwholesome states increase in him and wholesome states diminish, that I therefore say, abandon such a kind of feeling. And if it were unknown by me, unseen, etc., but because it is known by me, contacted by wisdom thus, here when someone feels another kind of painful feeling, unwholesome states diminish in him and wholesome states increase, that I therefore say, enter upon and abide in such a kind of painful feeling. I stop here for a moment. So here there are two types of painful feeling. The first type is refers to the unbeneficial ascetic practices practiced by some of the ascetics in India, where they torture themselves, their body, through all kinds of ascetic practices like starving themselves, eating only a particular type of food, standing without ever sitting down, or raising their hands without ever putting it down, etc. This type of unbeneficial practices, unwholesome states increase and wholesome states diminish. So the Buddha says, abandon such a kind of painful feeling. But there is another type of painful feeling where wholesome states increase and unwholesome states diminish. This refers to, for example, striving in the holy path, longing for liberation. If a person longs for liberation, that is a type of painful feeling. Or if he's striving very hard in the holy life, and also he experiences painful feelings, but in the process, unwholesome states diminish and wholesome states increase. So the Buddha says to continue and abide in that type of painful feeling. And then after that, if you are unknown by me, unseen, etc., someone feels a certain kind of neither painful nor pleasant feeling. Unwholesome states increase in him and wholesome states diminish. That I therefore say, abandon such a kind of neither painful nor pleasant feeling. Then if you are unknown by me, but because he is known by me, contacted by wisdom thus, here someone feels another kind of neither painful nor pleasant feeling. Unwholesome states diminish in him, and wholesome states increase. That I therefore say, enter upon and abide in such a kind of neither painful nor pleasant feeling. I'll stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is talking about two types of this neither painful nor pleasant feeling. This neither painful nor pleasant feeling is also called equanimity. So there's one type where if you experience it, unwholesome states increase and wholesome states diminish. This refers to the equanimity, worldly equanimity, equanimity in the worldly sense. For example, when you indulge in the sensual objects, sense objects, and you have a equanimous feeling, and then Buddha says abandon such a equanimous feeling. On the other hand, there's another type where when you experience that type of equanimous feeling, wholesome states increase. This refers to the fourth jhana. When a person enters the fourth jhana, there is complete purity of equanimity and mindfulness. So the Buddha says, enter upon and abide in such a type of neither painful nor pleasant feelings. Monks, I do not say of all monks that they still have work to do with diligence, nor do I say of all monks that they have no more work to do with diligence. I do not say of all monks who are arahants, with taints destroyed, who have lived the holy life, done what had to be done, laid down the burden, reached the true goal, destroyed the fetters of being, and are completely liberated through final knowledge, that they still have work to do with diligence. Why is that? They have done their work with diligence. They are no more capable of being negligent. I say of such monks who are in higher training, whose minds have not yet reached the goal, and who are still aspiring to the supreme security from bondage, that they still have work to do with diligence. Why is that? Because when those venerable ones make use of suitable resting places and associate with good friends and balance their spiritual faculties, they may, by realizing for themselves with direct knowledge, here and now enter upon and abide in the supreme goal of the holy life, for the sake of which clansmen rightly go forth from the home life into homelessness. Seeing this fruit of diligence for these monks, I say that they still have work to do with diligence. I'll stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha says, the Arahant has finished his work, and he has no more work to do, and he's also not able to be negligent anymore. He's no more negligent. But those in higher training, the other types of Arya, the Buddha encourages them to put forth effort, and they may attain the goal of the holy life, Nibbana, here and now. Monks, there are 7 kinds of persons to be found existing in the world. What 7? They are: 1 liberated both ways, 1 liberated by wisdom, a body witness, 1 attained to view, 1 liberated by faith, a Dhamma-follower and a faith follower. Stop here for a moment. This here is talking about 7 types of Aryans. The Aryans can be classified as 7 types as here. The first 2 refers to the Arahants. 1 liberated both ways, 1 liberated by wisdom. Here you can see these 2 types of Arahants, liberated both ways and liberated by wisdom. But earlier we saw in Majjhima Nikaya, Sutta 64, section 16, the Buddha is stated there are 2 types of Arahants, liberated by mind and liberated by wisdom. So here, when you say liberated both ways, that refers to the Arahant who is liberated by mind. Because as I mentioned before, liberated by mind means he's liberated by mind as well as by wisdom. That's why he's liberated both ways. And that liberation by mind occurs when Arahant attains liberation during meditation. He's using the strength of his mind and becomes liberated. Whereas liberated by wisdom, he's not meditating at that time. Venerable Sariputta, just listening to the Buddha give a discourse, and he understood and he became liberated. His liberation by wisdom. Then body witness attained to view and liberated by faith. The last 2, Dhamma-follower and faith follower, refers to the first path attainers. What kind of person is one liberated both ways? Ubato Bhaga Vimutta. Here some person contacts with the body and abides in those liberations that are peaceful and immaterial, transcending forms, and his stains are destroyed by his seeing with wisdom. This kind of person is called one liberated both ways. I do not say of such a monk that he still has work to do with diligence. Why is that? He has done his work with diligence. He is no more capable of being negligent. What kind of person is one liberated by wisdom? Panya Vimutta. Here some person does not contact with the body and abide in those liberations that are peaceful and immaterial, transcending forms, but his stains are destroyed by seeing with wisdom. This kind of person is called one liberated by wisdom. I do not say of such a monk that he still has work to do with diligence. Why is that? He has done his work with diligence. He is no more capable of being negligent. Stop here for a moment. This here, liberated by wisdom, he says, he does not contact with the body. Those liberations that are peaceful and immaterial means he does not attain the arupas. But it does not mean he does not have the rupa jhanas. Because all arahants have perfect samadhi, and the perfect samadhi is defined as the 4 jhanas. But there are some arahants, after they attain four jhanas, they become liberated. Some after they attain 8 jhanas, that means including the arupas. What kind of person is a body witness? Kaya Sakhin. Here some person contacts with the body and abides in those liberations that are peaceful and immaterial, transcending forms, and some of his stains are destroyed by seeing with wisdom. This kind of person is called a body witness. I say of such a monk that he still has work to do with diligence. Why is that? Because when that venerable one makes use of suitable resting places and associates with good friends and balances his spiritual faculties, he may, by realizing for himself with direct knowledge, here and now enter upon and abide in the supreme goal of the holy life, for the sake of which clansmen rightly go forth from the home life into homelessness. Seeing this fruit of diligence for such a monk, I say that he still has work to do with diligence. What kind of person is one attained to view? Ditthipata. Here some person does not contact with the body and abide and abide in those liberations that are peaceful and immaterial, transcending forms. But some of his stains are destroyed by his seeing with wisdom, and he has reviewed and examined with wisdom the teachings proclaimed by the Tathagata. This kind of person is called one attained to view. I say of such a person, I say of such a monk that he still has work to do with diligence. Why is that? And then what kind of person is one liberated by faith? Here, this is Saddha Vimutta. Here, some person does not contact with the body and abide in those liberations that are peaceful and immaterial, transcending forms. But some of his stains are destroyed by his seeing with wisdom, and his faith is planted, rooted, and established in the Tathagata. This kind of person is called one liberated by faith. I say of such a monk that he still has work to do with diligence, etc. Stop here for a moment. Here now we come to these three types of Arya. The body witness, Kaya Sakin. And then the second one is one attained to view, Ditthipata. The third one is one liberated by faith, Saddha Vimutta. Now according to the Majjhima Nikaya, Atthakatha commentary, they say that the first two, the liberated both ways and liberated by wisdom, that refers to the Arahants. And the last two refers to the first path attainer, the Dhamma-follower and faith follower. So they say that these three refers to the six Aryans in between. That means first fruit, Arya, second path, second fruit, third path, third fruit, and fourth path. 6 types of Aryans. That's what they say. But this Anguttara Nikaya, Sutta 3.21, also there's some discussion about these 3 types of Aryans. And there the Buddha says that these 3 types of Aryans, they can either be a second fruition Arya, that means Sakadagamin, or third fruition Anagamin, or fourth path attainer. So there the sutta is a bit different from what the commentary here says. What kind of person is a Dhamma-follower? Dhamma-nusarin. Here some person does not contact with the body and abide in those liberations that are peaceful and immaterial, transcending forms. And his stains are not yet destroyed by his seeing with wisdom. But with wisdom he has sufficiently gained a reflective acceptance of those teachings proclaimed by the Tathagata. Furthermore, he has these qualities: the faith faculty, energy faculty, mindfulness faculty, concentration faculty, and wisdom faculty. This kind of person is called a Dhamma-follower. I say of such a monk that he still has work to do with diligence, etc. What kind of person is a faith follower? Saddha Nusarin. Here some person does not contact with the body and abide in those liberations that are peaceful and immaterial, transcending forms, and his stains are not yet destroyed by his seeing with wisdom. Yet he has sufficient faith in and love for the Tathagata. Furthermore, he has these qualities: the faith faculty, energy faculty, mindfulness faculty, concentration faculty, and wisdom faculty. This kind of person is called a faith follower. I say of such a monk that he still has work to do with diligence, etc. So stop here for a moment. Here, the Dhamma follower and the faith follower refers to the first path attainer. You see, in this, these two, they have in common the 5 faculties: faith, energy, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. But I think that these 5 faculties are not fully developed, because in the Samyutta Nikaya, the Buddha says, if a person has these 5 faculties fully developed, he can become an Arahant. But if it's only developed at a low level, he can become a first path or first fruit attainer. So here we assume must be the 5 faculties are only partially developed. This Dhamma follower, you see, he has gained a reflective acceptance of those teachings proclaimed by the Tathagata. That means he listens to the Dhamma and then he reflects on what he has heard, and he accepts the Dhamma taught by the Buddha. He understands So just by understanding the Dhamma, he has entered the stream, become the first path attainer. And that also is partially because he has partial development of these 5 faculties. Then the second one, the faith follower, he becomes the first path attainer because he has sufficient faith and love for the Tathagata. That is only possible also if he understands some Dhamma. If he doesn't understand the Dhamma, how can he have faith and love for the Tathagata? So these are the 2 first path attainers. Monks, I do not say that final knowledge is achieved all at once. On the contrary, final knowledge is achieved by a gradual training, by gradual practice, by gradual progress. I stop here for a moment. There's some other sutta where the Buddha says, just like the ocean, if you walk towards the ocean, it does not suddenly become deep. It gradually becomes deeper and deeper and deeper, very gradual. So in the same way, the Buddha says the spiritual path, the holy path, is a gradual training, gradual progress, just like here. And how does that come to be gradual training, gradual practice, gradual progress? Here one who has faith in the teacher visits him. When he visits him, he pays respect to him. When he pays respect to him, he gives ear. One who gives ear hears the Dhamma. Having heard the Dhamma, he memorizes it. He examines the meaning of the teachings he has memorized. When he examines their meaning, he gains a reflective acceptance of those teachings. When he has gained a reflective acceptance of those teachings, zeal springs up in him. When zeal has sprung up, he applies his will. Having applied his will, he scrutinizes. Having scrutinized, he strives, resolutely striving. He realizes with the body the ultimate truth and sees it by penetrating it with wisdom. There has not been that faith, monks, and there has not been that visiting, and there has not been that paying of respect, and there has not been that giving ear, and there has not been that hearing of the Dhamma, and there has not been that memorizing of the Dhamma, and there has not been that examination of the meaning, and there has not been that reflective acceptance of the teachings, and there has not been that zeal, and there has not been that application of will, and there has not been that scrutiny, and there has not been that striving. Monks, you have lost your way, monks. You have been practicing the wrong way. How far you have strayed, misguided men, from this Dhamma Vinaya. Stop here for a moment. This last part, the Buddha is giving a telling off to these 2 monks, Puna Basuka and the other one Asaji. So the Buddha says, how does one progress in the spiritual path? First, this disciple has faith in the teacher. So when he has faith in the teacher, he comes to associate with the teacher, and he pays respect to the teacher. And because he pays respect to the teacher, then only the teacher teaches him the Dhamma. When he is taught the Dhamma, he listens to the Dhamma with all attention. And then having heard the Dhamma, he memorizes it. In the Buddha's days, there was no books, so they had to memorize. So after memorizing, he examines the meaning of the teachings he has memorized. Then as he repeats what he has memorized, then he reflects on it. There's the examining the meaning. And then when he understands, he gains a reflective acceptance of those teachings. So if he gains a reflective acceptance of the Buddha's teachings, primarily the 4 Noble Truths, then he has entered the stream, become a first path attainer. And then zeal springs up in him. And then he applies his will. Applies his will means he starts to meditate, tries to practice what he has learned in the Dhamma. And then he scrutinizes, examines, and then he strives again, resolutely striving. Then with the body, he attains the various states of concentration and sees by penetrating with wisdom. Because when he attains one-pointedness of mind, then he can see things as they really are. And when he sees things as they really are, then he penetrates the Dhamma and attains wisdom. So he's telling these two monks, they have not had that faith, that's why they have not been visiting the teacher or senior monks, and have not been paying respect, have not been listening to the Dhamma, memorizing, examining, etc. Monks, there is a four-phrase statement, and when it is recited, a wise man would quickly understand. I shall recite it to you, monks, try to understand it. And these two monks said, Venerable Sir, who are we that we should understand the Dhamma? And then the Buddha said, monks, even with a teacher who is concerned with material things, an heir to material things, attached to material things, such haggling by his disciples would not be proper. If we get this, we will do this, we will do it. If we don't get this, we won't do it. So what should be said when the teacher is the Tathagata, who is utterly detached from material things? Monks, for a faithful disciple who is intent on fathoming the teacher's dispensation, it is proper that he conducts himself thus. The Blessed One is the teacher, I am a disciple. The Blessed One knows, I do not know. For a faithful disciple who is intent on fathoming the teacher's dispensation, the teacher's dispensation is nourishing and refreshing. For a faithful disciple who is intent on fathoming the teacher's dispensation, it is proper that he conducts himself thus. Willingly, let only my skin, sinews and bones remain, and let the flesh and blood dry up on my body. But my energy shall not be relaxed so long as I have not attained what can be attained by manly strength, manly energy, and manly persistence. For a faithful disciple who is intent on fathoming the teacher's dispensation, one of two fruits may be expected, either final knowledge here and now, or if there is a trace of clinging left, non-return. That is what the Blessed One said. The monks were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. So here this last part, the Buddha says, even with some teachers who are very attached to material things, it is not proper for the disciples to bargain with the teacher. If we get this only, we will follow your instructions and do this. If we don't get this, we won't follow your instruction. In other words, there are some monks, they for example, they come to practice in a monastery on certain conditions only. If they have a good, a very comfortable kuti to stay with aircon, then only they come. Or some, they think if the food is very good, then only I come and stay in the monastery. If the food is no good, I won't come. So this is haggling. But the Buddha says, one who has come to a good teacher, he should acknowledge that the teacher knows, I do not know. So if a disciple follows a teacher, he should listen to the teacher, not have his way. And if he practices well, he should have this kind of determination, a very strong determination. He's willing to let the whole body waste away, but he will not relax his energy so long as he has not attained what can be attained by manly strength, manly energy, manly persistence. And then if he has that kind of determination, the Buddha says, in this very lifetime, he can expect to be an arahant or an anagamin. So this spiritual path is not an easy path. It's a very difficult path. Without persistence, without faith and persistence, determination, you cannot progress. And if you don't progress, the Buddha says you have wasted your life as a human being. As I say in Hokkien, kisi ka ho, in English, go and die. Because the Buddha says, if we waste our life, then we don't strive. We might as well die. If we live another 80 years or 100 years, it's a liability to us, because as a human being, we use up our merit. Every day we use our merit. And at the end of life, your blessings is in the red already, and you go to a woeful plane of rebirth. So unless you strive on the spiritual path and attain more blessings, you'll be wasting your life. Look at the Buddha when he struggled for enlightenment, how much effort he put in. Some people, they come to the spiritual path, and then when it gets a bit difficult, or they want to give up already. This is not manly. This effeminate. The Buddha says, when the going is tough, you just grit your teeth and bear it. Just grit your teeth and bear it. You don't have that kind of determination. Don't practice the spiritual path. When I first renounced, the first year was a lot of suffering for me. Thoughts kept going back to the home. That's natural for everybody. Thoughts kept going back to the home. The first year, so a time when I broke down and cried very loud also. I let myself cry and let all the tears come down. Have a good cry after that. Okay, and you carry on. Sutta 71. Te Vijja Vacchagotta Sutta, to Vacchagotta on the threefold true knowledge. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Vesali in the great wood, in the hall with the peaked roof. Now, on that occasion, the wanderer Vacchagotta was staying in the wondrous park of the single white lotus mango tree. Then, when it was morning, the Blessed One dressed, and taking his bowl and outer robe, went into Vesali for alms. Then the Blessed One thought, it is still too early to wander for alms in Vesali. Suppose I went to the wanderer Vacchagotta in the wondrous park of the single white lotus mango tree. Then the Blessed One went to the wanderer Vacchagotta in the wondrous park of the single white lotus mango tree. The wanderer Vacchagotta saw the Blessed One coming in the distance and said to him, let the Blessed One come, Venerable Sir. Welcome to the Blessed One. It is long since the Blessed One found an opportunity to come here. Let the Blessed One be seated. This seat is ready. The Blessed One sat down on the seat made ready, and the wanderer Vacchagotta took a low seat, sat down at one side. Stop here for a moment. So from here you can see that the Buddha, he is quite friendly with other ascetics. Even they have wrong view. He goes to visit them. Probably he thinks if they talk, he has a chance of helping them on the spiritual path. And they generally have great respect for the Buddha. Like here, you see, he took a low seat. And he said to the Blessed One, Venerable Sir, I have heard this. The recluse Gotama claims to be omniscient and all-seeing, to have complete knowledge and vision thus. Whether I am walking or standing or sleeping or awake, knowledge and vision are continuously and uninterruptedly present to me. Venerable Sir, to those who speak thus, say what has been said by the Blessed One, and not misrepresent him with what is contrary to fact. Do they explain in accordance with the Dhamma in such a way that nothing which provides a ground for censure can be legitimately deduced from their assertion? And the Buddha said, Vaccha, those who say thus do not say what has been said by me, but misrepresent me with what is untrue and contrary to fact. Stop here for a moment. During the Buddha's time, there were 6 famous external sect teachers, and some of them claimed that they were omniscient and all-seeing, that all the time they have complete knowledge and vision, whether they are walking or standing or sleeping, they are continuously and uninterruptedly knowing everything. But in Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 90, section 8, the Buddha says, there is no recluse or Brahmin who knows all, who sees all simultaneously, because that is not possible. So the Buddha, when he wants to know something, he has to contemplate. And because of his psychic powers, when he contemplates, he can get to know what he wants to know, but it is not automatic. Venerable Sir, how should I answer that I may say what has been said by the Blessed One and not misrepresent him with what is contrary to fact? How may I explain in accordance with the Dhamma in such a way that nothing which provides a ground for censure can be legitimately deduced from my assertion? Vaccha, if you answer thus, the recluse Gotama has the threefold true knowledge. You will be saying what has been said by me and will not misrepresent me with what is contrary to fact. You will explain in accordance with the Dhamma in such a way that nothing which provides a ground for censure can be legitimately deduced from your assertion. For in so far as I wish, I recollect my manifold past lives, that is 1 birth, 2 births, etc., 100 births, 1,000 births, many aeons of world expansion and contraction. Thus with the aspects and particulars, I recollect my manifold past lives. And in so far as I wish, with the divine eye, which is purified and surpasses the human, I see beings passing away and reappearing, inferior and superior, fair and ugly, fortunate and unfortunate. And I understand how beings pass on according to their actions, etc. And by realizing for myself with direct knowledge, I here and now enter upon and abide in the liberation by mind and liberation by wisdom that are taintless with the destruction of the taints. If you answer thus, the recluse Gotama has the threefold true knowledge. You will be saying what has been said by me and will not misrepresent me with what is contrary to fact. You will explain in accordance with the Dhamma in such a way that nothing which provides a ground for censure can be legitimately deduced from your assertion. I'll stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha says, if you want, you can say that the Samana Gotama has the threefold knowledge. The Buddha, he can recollect the past, and then he has the divine eye or heavenly eye, and can see beings passing away and arising in another state according to the law of karma vipaka. And thirdly, he has understood the Four Noble Truths and destroyed the asavas and attained liberation. When this was said, the wanderer Vacchagotta asked the Blessed One, Master Gotama, is there any householder who, without abandoning the fetter of householdership on the dissolution of the body, has made an end of suffering? Vaccha, there is no householder who, without abandoning the fetter of householdership on the dissolution of the body, has made an end of suffering. Stop here for a moment. So here, basically, the Buddha says that no lay person can become an arahant. But there are cases during the Buddha's time, there were a few, maybe 1 or 2, who attained arahanthood. But once they attain arahanthood, they will naturally renounce. They cannot stay at home anymore. They have killed off the old self. The Buddha says when a monk attains liberation, he is reborn. He is reborn again. The old lay person has died. He is reborn from the mouth of the Buddha. So there was this case of Yassa. Yassa was a very rich man with at least 4 wives, and the Buddha made him come to the forest to the Buddha in the middle of the night, and after that the Buddha taught him the Dhamma. Hearing the Dhamma twice from the Buddha, he attained arahanthood. Then after that, he could not go back home anymore. So on the dissolution of the body, when he dies, he must renounce. As a householder, he cannot become an arahant and remain a householder. And this contradicts the Mahayana sutras, like the Vimalakirti Sutra, where they claim that the Bodhisattva Vimalakirti achieve a higher state than the Arahant Sariputta. And he remained as a layman. He could go and enjoy himself, socialize, go to karaoke, and join enjoy all the worldly pursuits, and yet he has such a high state, higher than the Arahant. This is simply not possible according to the original suttas. Master Gotama, is there any householder who, without abandoning the fetter of householdership on the dissolution of the body, has gone to heaven? Vaccha, there are not only 100 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 500, but far more householders who, without abandoning the fetter of householdership on the dissolution of the body, have gone to heaven. So the Buddha says, his lay devotees, without renouncing, even as lay persons, thousands and thousands of them have gone to heaven. Master Gotama, is there any ajivaka who on the dissolution of the body has made an end of suffering? And the Buddha said, Vaccha, there is no ajivaka who on the dissolution of the body has made an end of suffering. Master Gotama, is there any ajivaka who on the dissolution of the body has gone to heaven? And the Buddha said, when I recollect the past 91 aeons or world cycles, Vaccha, I do not recall any ajivaka who on the dissolution of the body went to heaven, with one exception, and he held the doctrine of the moral efficacy of action, the doctrine of the moral efficacy of deeds, that is karma. And then Vaccha said, that being so, Master Gotama, this fold of other sectarians is empty even of a chance of going to heaven. And the Buddha said, that being so, Vaccha, this fold of other sectarians is empty even of a chance of going to heaven. That is what the Blessed One said. The wanderer Vacchagotta was satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. So this last part, he was asking about ajivakas. These ajivakas, the ajivaka ascetics, they are naked ascetics. And the leader is called Makkhali Gosala Putta. In the, I think, Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha castigated this Makkhali, Gosala Putta, called him a fool. Why? Because he teaches that there is no such thing as karma vipaka, no action and the result of action. So the Buddha said he is leading his followers into the woeful plains of rebirth, just like a fish trap. A fish trap, if you have this net, or the fish will swim, follow that net until it enters the trap and cannot come out. So the Buddha says in the same way, these followers of this Makkhali Gosala Putta, they follow him and end up in the woeful plains of rebirth. So here the Buddha says, not a single ajivaka has become an arahant. And then he asks, is there any ajivaka gone to heaven? The Buddha says, in the last 91 world cycles, he only saw one, and that one also he went to heaven because he believed in the law of karma vipaka, which is contrary to what his teacher teaches. So that being so, these ajivakas, they even have no chance of going to heaven. That's the end of the sutta. Okay, I stop here. Anything to discuss?
How do you do that?
I think if a monk wants to progress on the spiritual path, he should be very careful of these dangers. If possible, he should not use a handphone or laptop and all that, if possible. But sometimes it may be necessary. For example, like our monastery, we don't have a line phone for communication, and we don't have email, we don't have internet access and all these things. So the only way people can communicate with us is through the handphone. So for us, the monastery, it is necessary. But I try to discourage monks from having a personal handphone, because if they contact the family too much, then they cannot cut off. Especially for a new monk, this first 1 or 2 years, the first few years to cut off contact with the family is very, very difficult. The Buddha says, iron chains are not as strong as the chain of family ties. Family ties are deeply rooted in us, and it's very painful to cut family ties. But if a monk wants to progress on the spiritual path, he has to cut family ties. Initially, the family will feel a lot of pain, but after a while they come to accept it, and after they come to accept it, then the monk can progress, and later the monk, if he wants, he can help them by bringing Dhamma to them. Like in my case, when I renounced, my mother was still alive, and being the youngest in the family, my mother was very attached to me, and the first 1.5 years after I renounced, she told me every day when she thinks of me, the tears will come down. And I knew the attachment was very strong. I tried not to go home. And so even when I came back from America, I only visit her like once in 8 or 9 months. And then when I asked her what she wanted, she said, I don't want anything, I only want to see you. Then I made the determination to see her once in 6 months. Or only once in 6 months. And then my sisters were also very close to me. So when I told some of them not to address me by my lay name, but call me Bante, some of them were very hurt. But later, after I learned the Dhamma, then I taught them the Dhamma, and then they became very happy. So the initial part, to cut family ties, is very painful. But it is better for them to suffer earlier than later, because a lot of people, they cannot cut this family tie, and they bring it to their grave. In the last moments of dying, this pain is not good. This attachment may bring them to a woeful plane of rebirth. So when we cut the family tie early stage, it is very painful. But once they accept it, then it is very good for them. They learn to let go. So my mother died at the age of 99. So it was after I had renounced for more than 20 years, she passed away. But at that time, the last few years, she had let go already. Each time I saw her, she said she was very happy, mentally very happy, because she had sort of no more attachments. She had already let go. So if I did not cut that tie up to the very end, she will be thinking of me. It's not good for her.
In that case, for you, mom, say for example, the first year, first 2 years or so, I mean, of course, the family want to receive. I mean, it is hard to cut off things like that. It's a choice that you do. You see them. If a mom will see them, then it's an encouragement. So because we see some of the moms that they usually lack stay away from the family. So I know you're practicing being Malaysia.
It's difficult. I have to use your wisdom. No? Maybe if they are not ready to strive very hard, they can still maintain contact. But once they have the determination to strive hard, then they have to cut completely. For example, go off to a foreign country. And not only go off to a foreign country, stay alone in some cave or some place. Or even in Malaysia, stay alone in some place. When I came back from America, then after that I went to Thailand to renounce, to reordain. Then after a year in Thailand, I came back to Malaysia. I went to look for a cave to stay in Ipoh area. And I went and I was staying alone in a big dark cave. Then my sister brought my mother to see me, and when my mother saw me in that cave, she just cried and cried and cried. I scolded my sister for bringing my mother to see me in that cave. So it's difficult, but you have to just make a clear cut in the beginning. That is provided the monk wants to strive very hard. If does not want to strive very hard, then it doesn't have to make that clean cut.
Paragraph 23 is the second part of the paragraph 23, where the Buddha says he realizes the body the ultimate truth and sees it by penetrating it with wisdom. He realizes with the body the head. It means that it is with our body that you need to strive with the body and with a sound body, good body, in a sense, which is why in the Deva realm they do not strive. Perhaps they do not see Vihara in the Deva realm. Is that why they say they strive with the body?
He realizes with the body. This one may be referring to attaining the jhanas. Attaining the jhanas. Then after he attains the jhanas, then the mind becomes clear. That means he strives with the body and attains the jhanas and sees the truth and penetrates with wisdom.
That means to say if you do not have a healthy body, you can't sit and meditate. It is quite impossible, isn't it?
Oh yes. That's why when the Buddha was fasting, doing all those fasting was so thin that he realized he could not attain the jhanas. So he decided to eat one meal a day. When he regained his strength, then only he could regain his jhanas. Yes, during the Buddha's time, almost all the monasteries were in the forest. That's why when they go on alms round, because they are staying in the forest, usually they are topless. They only wear the sarong or sabong, the lower robe, and then they walk towards town. And then when they come near the town or city, then only they put on the outer robe. And then they enter the town, go on alms round. And then when they leave the city gates, they will take off the upper robe and put it on their head and walk to the forest. So most of the time they were topless. And it was only later the Buddha allowed the monks to stay in the towns, and then also if a monk could not stay in the forest, for example, if a monk is too old, then generally if a monk wants to practice, it is practically impossible to practice if a monk stays in town or city. Just impossible because you have so much contact with lay people. Lay people is always coming to talk with you and all that, so it's not possible. If a monk wants to strive, he needs seclusion, and aloofness from people. So only that way he can attain the jhana.
Last night, one question on comedy occasion. Last night, Sister William asked about breakfast, whether breakfast is a meal. As far as I understand, that porridge, the Buddha mentioned congee, is not considered a meal.
Yeah.
Then, why, I just would like to know whether it's allowable after noon congee.
Okay, so this breakfast, it is a meal depending on what you eat. So like even like congee, if you put meat inside, it's a meal. This broth, but if you just have plain congee, there are certain allowances the Buddha allowed that a monk can take in the morning, and it's not considered a meal. For example, things made of flour. I think milk also is included, because in one sutta, Dhananjani Sutta, this layman, he offered milk to Venerable Sariputta before the main meal. And after noon, in the Vinaya, if something is watery, it is allowed. If it is too thick, it's not allowed. So for example, like this, how do you say, this rice water is allowed, but not the rice itself. And like say, like the green peas, red beans and all that, if you cook it, you can't take the solid part. You have to filter it. You have to strain it. Then you can take the liquid. So it depends on what you take. Okay, shall we end here?